Hello everyone, my name is Anastasia Murray and today I will be analyzing South Park. Creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker met while attending the University of Colorado and worked together to create The Spirit of Christmas in 1995. This VHS tape was so popular that people were copying it and sharing it to the point that it was considered viral before the internet. The only issue here for Matt and Trey was that they didn't credit themselves for the project, and random people were claiming credit for their work and getting great jobs from it. So now the newly graduated and barely able to pay for their shared apartment, they worked together again to create the pilot of South Park using the same stop-motion style, crude humor, and main cast of boys to follow. The setting of the show was also similarly based on the town of Fairplay in Colorado, where there's a lot of the snowy woodland and colorful buildings that we see represented in the show. South Park's pilot episode was rejected by many networks until they were accepted by Comedy Central, where the show is still produced after 25 seasons, and the creators prefer to work with a fast-paced weekly schedule to minimize the possibility of second-guessing themselves or overworking their projects. During the course of the show, they've come out with a movie in 1999 and two detailed video games, The Fractured But Whole in 2017 and The Stick of Truth in 2014. These games are really funny and super interesting to play since they're a virtual way for the audience to interact with the town and the characters of South Park, as well as it's filled to the brim with Easter eggs and references to all of the episodes. As a show, South Park is known for having ridiculous plots, crude satirical humor, and for its controversial social parodies. Despite its potential for negative backlash, it is mostly widely accepted by the audience and the public, especially by its target audience of males that are 16 to 30. The writers often poke fun at relevant social figures, leading many in the audience to wonder about their reactions. So notably, today I have Al Gore and his reaction, where Al Gore was made a target in Season 10's episode, Man, Bear, Pig, which reflected Al Gore's activist campaigns to raise awareness for climate change during the time. Then they showed him in the episode as an uncredible, eccentric, conspiracy-focused person that was terrorizing the town of South Park with claims of impending doom from an elusive creature known as the Man, Bear, Pig. The main characters treat Al Gore like he's crazy, since he's coming into this town with an animal with no real evidence and no real proof, so he kind of sounds like he's talking about Bigfoot. And the episode also aired during a time when climate change risks weren't as widely accepted as fact, and so they made a joke of the climate change warnings and of Al Gore as a whole. This episode is a great instance to an episode that doesn't age as gracefully as the others. But the creators recently turned it around in Season 22, Episodes 6 and 7, where this is like one of the only instances of South Park boldly apologizing for a previous statement, and they revisited the warnings of Man, Bear, Pig and revealed that the creature was actually very real and very much a threat to the town. They also showed that Al Gore was kind of the crazy guy that we should have been listening to this whole time, and showed the boys literally apologizing to Al Gore in the episode. He later responded in an interview saying that he actually found the original episode to be really funny, and he especially appreciated that the show brought awareness to how climate change has been real this entire time. There was another episode that prompted an interesting response called Le Petit Tourette, which portrayed Cartman learning about Tourette syndrome and then claiming to have the syndrome, while another character, Kyle, tries to expose him, but he's instead scolded for claiming that the syndrome is fake, and he's forced to go through further education on the syndrome throughout the episode. After the episode aired, the Tourette Syndrome Association of America actually surprisingly praised the show for being well-researched and for being an unconventionally clever way of spreading the information to the public. South Park has also faced really negative backlash from their targets, most notably Tom Cruise for their episode Trapped in the Closet, where the creators brought his sexual orientation to question for an entire episode. He's known for being quick to sue, so the credit names were all replaced with John and Jane Smith in an effort to protect themselves. And since Tom Cruise is a prominent member of the Church of Scientology, they also came under fire from the organization that threatened legal action on the production, but nothing's really come of it since. Their most controversial episodes were arguably Season 10's Cartoon Wars, though, which featured fictional, non-fictional, and religious figures assembled into a Avengers-styled super team. One of the members is the Prophet Muhammad, who is never meant to be depicted or created in their religion, so this was viewed really negatively when news that the Prophet would be represented in the upcoming episode reached the public. Radical members sent death threats to Matt and Trey. This caused Comedy Central to censor the episode right before it aired, censoring both the Prophet as well as a speech given by one of the characters. Matt and Trey were extremely angry, and because they believe in equal opportunity to be criticized and mocked, they just believe that there's a fairness in mocking everyone, and if you protect some, you're favoring others over some. So they were super angry to find out that they had been censored. And many fans were also shocked, and so shocked that they believed it was all an intentional meta joke that actually lined up with the plot of the episode, but the creators were transparent with their intentions to originally go through with the idea of representing the Prophet. South Park is not only known for its ridiculous and crude humor, but also for its unique and recognizable visual style. The show utilizes almost all of the elements to create the 2D childish style. Like, the lines are used sparingly for simplified details and to define objects, and there's a heavy emphasis on maintaining the construction paper texture found all the way back from the pilot. The texture really helps add visual interest since the colors are very flat and there aren't very many shadows. But there is a unified vibrancy to the colors and the environment that support the feeling of it being a kid's cartoon. Many of the characters have color palettes that stand out, while the environments tend to be slightly more muted to minimize the distraction. And the visual humor of the show is also propelled by the use of intentionally simple and imperfect shapes to create the characters in the environment. The creators say that the poorly crafted style adds to the humor, and I believe it continues to support the childish feeling of the show and allows the audience to avoid taking it too seriously. South Park also utilizes many of the principles to create depth in the environment and establish style, like we see in the character icons that have disproportionately sized bodies to their large heads and also feel disproportionate to the spaces that they occupy at times. Only the aliens in the universe of South Park are allowed to have necks, just to be clear. The animators create an illusion of space and the style by using varying proportions of the houses and trees in the backgrounds to the characters, and also the sizes of characters compared to others. They also use color to indicate lighting and dimension on the houses where you can see that the darker color is supposed to be in the shadows. There have been some instances of visual contrast between the cartoony style of the show and realistic style of actual movie posters or characters. I'm thinking of Mel Gibson is often portrayed in this show with a realistic face that's taken straight from Braveheart that usually causes him to really stand out visually from the episodes. Similarly, the ending of Grounded Vindaloop reveals realistic icons for the characters for a couple of seconds, creating a visual shock for the audience, just because I think it comes in season 18, so you're already used to 18 seasons of these animated characters to suddenly see them as realistic depictions. I haven't found any particular reason behind these contrasts other than maybe a tight schedule causing the production to minimize their work, or for some visual change when the episode allows it. Over time, South Park has become a symbol of social parody that reflects real and relatable events in a way that allows the audience to alleviate some seriousness from the topic. And it's an icon for childish adult cartoons. The uncensored humor and intentional style are all indicators of creative and comedic freedom of expression, which I feel like is one of the main messages for the show. While Matt and Trey don't have a true intended message for the show, the act of assigning one would mean that they take the show literally as expressed in season 18's Go Fund Yourself. They just genuinely want to create and share what they find funny. The humor in the show is ridiculous, and not every episode is aged gracefully during its 25 years, but the creators are constantly anticipating rejection and backlash from the audience. Yet it's still widely accepted and maintained relevance. I believe that the unspoken message is the same at the end of every single episode, which is just to express your creative freedom without second-guessing yourself. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have a great day.